These super soldiers are trained to master their bodies, because if they can master their biokind, they can also master and totally discipline their minds. And once they can do that and are taught to nano-travel and time travel without having any fears or anything that holds them back, they will be extremely efficient soldiers. Believe it or not, but many of these soldiers, trained humans, have been to other planets and other galaxies, traveling in their minds, and even been on real missions where killing off star beings on other planets have been part of it. They have the ability to leave their bodies at will, and with their avatar mock themselves up as anything, even as forests. They create super soldiers who are mastering their bodies to the utmost, but that's not all these super soldiers can and will be able to do. They are also trained in nano-traveling. There are already soldiers like this who are quite multidimensional and interdimensional and can travel anywhere in space and time, and are trained in a kind of warfare the common person, or the common soldier, can't even comprehend. A few of these super soldiers have become whistleblowers and told the truth as they know it, and although what they say is pretty remarkable, it's just the tip of the iceberg. These whistleblowers only remember what's on the surface, still, few people believe them. It's sad, because if people don't even believe that, how can they ever believe the real deal? Well, whether they believe or not, it's going to be the reality for the next few generations. And after all, who are these next few generations? Think about it. It's you and I. How can that be, you may ask? Well, your soul is recycled, reincarnated, so you will be your own grandson/granddaughter, figuratively speaking, and you will most likely be one of these soldiers in the near future, unless you change your course. But why on earth would the Sirians want to come down here and fulfill the Bible prophecies then, if they need every soldier they can get? After all, the Bible prophecies include a battle of Armageddon, earth changes, and the loss of an incredible amount of lives. This is very true, but fits the agenda perfectly. The Sirians need to be visible again and openly mingle with us. They need us to bow down to a king again, and they need people to trust them. What would be better than to come and fight off an imagined enemy, Marduk and his group, in an effort to help mankind, and then let the second coming take place? Those who survive will accept the new King of Kings after they've played out their little show, and those who were killed will be incarnated again, integrated into the new system after have had their amnesia implants in the afterlife, as usual. But where would they get all the bodies they need for those who get killed in the final battle? Well, this is where the alien abductions, DNA samples, and cloning comes into the picture, something we will discuss later in this paper. When the Sirians, also known as Anunnaki, feels they are ready, our biokind, the way our DNA is structured now, will be obsolete and of very little importance. A cloned society would not be a bad alternative for them. A cloned army with trained souls is an obedient army. If Hitler would have had access to a giant army of cloned, fearless soldiers, he most possibly would have won the war. In the 1980s, President Ronald Reagan talked before the United Nations, pondering what we all would do in case of an outer, alien threat, and how all nations on Earth would have to put aside all their petty conflicts and get together in a joint effort to protect Earth. His point was that if such a threat would be reality, we would at last get a one-world government and a united Earth. In fact, Reagan mentioned this on at least a couple of occasions and even talked to President Gorbachev about it, with both their wives present. So, what threat was Reagan actually talking about? Was he basically saying that they needed to stage an event, type Project Bluebeam, to unite the peoples of Earth, or was he talking about a real alien threat? In his essay, Between the Devil and the Returning Rock, Dr. A.R. Borden of Life Physics Group California suggests that Reagan may have been talking about the incoming Sirian fleet, which makes sense as things seem to be unfolding, if we also take Lord Yutu's statement to me into account. The purpose of technology transfer programs and alien human abductions. To refresh the reader's memory, technology transfer programs means that star beings land here on Earth, show themselves off as Greys, reptilians, Nordics, or some other humanoid or non-humanoid group, in an effort to contact representatives of a government such as the US, preferably with the president him/herself present, offering amazing technology to the said country in exchange for something else. Usually, this type of manipulation is working great from the viewpoint of the star race, and I'll explain in a minute what this is really all about. Then, from the said government's point of view, the technology they are being offered is normally something that can be used within the weapon industry, or as a boost of their own country's technology. The star beings involved in this kind of exchange know exactly what the particular government wants or needs, and the aliens in their turn will have their needs taken care of by the government. Of course, the president of a country is not the person who is really in charge, not even in a dictatorship. A dictator always comes to power after they have been offered help from a superpower, more often than not, the United States. So, for a dictator to have backup in a coup against a sitting government, the new leader has rules he or she needs to follow, another form of exchange program. So the ones pulling the strings are still the Sirians and their allies, if we go far enough up the echelons of power to find them. This is why the star races with their TTP, technology transfer programs, concentrate on the mid-level of power, which is mostly clueless of what is really going on. The President of the United States, for example, only has so much clearance, and even people like Brzezinski, Kissinger, and Bush Sr. have much higher clearance than the President. The target for the TTP is often those who still think that war, industry, and trade has something to do with one nation trying to get, or remain ahead of another. The star race in exchange wants an agreement of a kind that it would otherwise be hard to get, and they do need an agreement to be able to defend themselves against more ethical star races, who otherwise could intervene and help us out of this mess. Instead, we are letting star race with the TTP get exactly what they want, although it inflicts on our freedoms and lead to more pain and suffering every single time.